Hello, beautiful, beloved beings. What is up? Welcome back to our conscious community that is built off of love and authenticity. I am your resident creatrix, Alana, and we are here to have a conversation. But not just any conversation. A what? A conscious conversation. So this is the second video in the conscious conversation series that we got going on over on this conscious community. So it's a series in which we evoke consciousness to the conversation through tapping into consciousness as a means to awaken and remember who we are. Okay, so this topic is a pretty juicy topic for our conscious conversation today. However, before we get into it, okay, I just want to shout out the new subscribers to the channel, to our community. Like, freaking welcome. And if this is your first time, hello, I'm Alana. All of my details to like find out all of the things that I do, what I create. As I mentioned, I am a creatrix. I'm a lot of things. And so if you are here looking to the community, check me out. If you love me and my energy, links to support me is below. I do this full time, so this is how I meet my basic means of living. So we're talking about food, we're talking about housing, we're talking about transportation. So if you feel so called to want to support me, either through seeing the services that I offer, or a donation, or simply choosing to be a part of this community, a little goes a long way. So shout out to the new folks in the community. And hello to the newbies. To the newbies, the new people, if this is your first time. So as I mentioned, this is Conscious Conversation. It's a series that I have going on this community. And so if you didn't get to check out the first video was all about convenience and how convenience kills. But for today, we're going to talk about constructs of constriction. Have you heard of those? I feel like once we break it down and we're able to get into the meat, the juice of it all, you'll be able to further awaken to these constructs of constrictions and how to liberate yourself from them. All right? You ready? I'm ready. Let's go. So constructs of constriction. What are they? As far as I know, this is a term in which I personally have coined in my my poetry book that I have, which also links to purchase that is below, and it really dives deep into the topic at hand that we're going to be discussing today. So how do I break down constructs of constriction? Let's go word by word. Okay, so constructs. What is a construct? So according to Webster Dictionary, so the verb of a construct is to build or to erect. And then the noun is an idea or theory containing various conceptual elements, typically one considered to be subjective, not based on empirical evidence. So typically one idea or theory considered to be subjective, not based on empirical evidence. All right. So how does that mean to me? How do I digest it? Right. And so that tells me that constructs are the foundational ideals or theories we have built our reality upon. All right, so constructs of what? Constriction. Let's look into constriction. So Webster Dictionary again. Constriction, a noun, and it is the action of making something narrower by pressure. Okay, so constricting or chaining us. That's how that translates to me. So what can these constructs of constriction look like or be experienced as? So this constructs of constriction can be class, gender, or race, just to name a few. As I mentioned before, my book, Growing Up Racist in America, it specifically focuses on transcending limitations through self-liberation, specifically through the construct of race, like the lens of race. However, it can and does apply to multiple constructs that we're going to talk about today in this video. So often, how I would also describe constructs of constriction, it can often be what us or others have been discriminated against. And so to me, a construct of constriction is any construct of my godson, he's playing in the background, is any construct of a foundation that we have built our reality upon that constricts or limits us, right? When we talk about constriction. So these foundational concepts, ideas, theories that we've built our reality upon that in reality constrict us. And it's funny how the definition of constriction is through pressure, right? So oftentimes we experience these constructs of constriction by societal pressure, right? Pressuring us to fit into these boxes, right? So now that we were able to be like, okay, what are they? Okay, let's talk about how constructs of constriction operate in our modern world, modern society, especially if you're from America, like myself. So they typically operate as, again, this can be found anywhere, but my specific experience has been growing up here in America. And so they can present themselves as quote unquote concrete rules that we are told about life or reality and how it operates. These can also pop up as quote unquote secure principles or ideas we have been taught to rely on, okay, which is often cast to us as an illusion to keep us safe, when in reality they're really here to keep us controlled. They can also show up as like the box, right? I mentioned the box earlier. So the box that we have been placed or have been told to be placed upon ourselves. So either how others have placed us in that quote unquote box, how we have placed ourselves in that box, or how we're told to be put into a box, right? So often constructs of constriction can show up as like something we must fit or squeeze into or aspire to. Again, bringing back that pressure, societal pressure to conform, to constrict. So what is the truth of it? Like how they operate, what is the truth? Like what's the tea? And so the truth about constructs of constriction is that, one, as we mentioned before, these are quote unquote concrete rules. That's a lie. The truth is that constructs are not concrete at all, my loves. It's our belief and action upon them that makes them reality. So that's the thing that concretes them. And I want to highlight that, and this is something we're going to dive deeper in our discussion. But what makes these quote unquote concrete is, again, our belief and our action upon these beliefs that make it into our reality. Another truth of constructs of constriction is that they constrict our limitless souls or limitless selves with a capital S. Okay, we're talking about higher self, right? So many of us have been brought into a reality, aka the Matrix, that benefits from our disconnection to our truth. And what is that truth? And that truth is that we are the most powerful people that we know. Okay? And that we are the creatrixes and the creators of our reality. And so again, we have been birthed into a reality, the Matrix, that benefits from us not knowing that we are the most powerful people. They want to do anything that they can to shield us from seeing that we are the most powerful, that the power is within us. There's no external, because as within, so without. So our internal world reflects our external world. We are the most powerful people that we know. And so another truth of the matter is that lifting that veil, uncovering our truth that we are the most powerful people that we know, would cause the end of their world and not ours. Their world being the Matrix. And if you didn't get to check out, you can peep my Instagram. I also made a little video on the channel, the community, about the meaning of the word apocalypse and like the actual root of it, because it's been twisted and construed to, by association, mean the end of the world. But when we actually look at the root origin of the word apocalypse, it's of Greek origin, and it means to uncover or to unveil. So it's really the lifting of the veil. And so isn't it funny that the powers that have construed that word for us, like literally to instill fear? Because it's like, oh my God, like why? Ugh, the apocalypse, like nobody wants that. Here's the tea. They don't want that. Because when we think about the apocalypse, we're like, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world. But no, baby, it's the end of their world. It's the end of the Matrix, okay? Because we're waking up, all right? So now that we were able to be like, okay, what is a construct of constriction? Like, how do they operate? What's the truth of it? Now let's get into the greater effects constructs of constrictions have on us and ultimately our souls. So when we continue to choose constructs of constriction, it's equivalent to us choosing to hand over our power, our birthright, and our divinity. So when we continue to live within the confines of those constrictions, when we continue to perpetuate that reality, that matrix of that quote unquote truth, when we continue to choose those and operate and act from them, we're choosing to hand our power over, okay? Which can cause a depletion of our life force energy. So that can often manifest as depression, anxiety, or even life-ending thoughts. Because when you think about it, big picture here, you constantly handing over your power, constantly giving it to another, you're depleting yourself. And so that is often how, again, it can manifest depression, anxiety, life-ending thoughts. So it's important to also know that, like, the greater effects on us, it's ultimately limiting our limitless selves. Okay? And again, self with a capital S, my loves. And so what do I mean by that? It's disconnecting you from you. Disconnecting you from source. And you are source. You see? You see what we're getting to here? So we broke it down. We examined how constructs of constriction operate, right? And now we're aware of the greater effects that choosing to operate within constructs of constriction can bring upon us. So if we know ultimately it's limiting our limitless self, the next point in this conversation is liberating your limitless self. Okay? So when we talk about liberating our limitless self, it's important. The first thing is importance of identifying. So being able to identify like where you felt constricted so that you can expand and liberate your limitless self. Often when we even just thinking about birth, right? There is the contraction before the expansion, right? So know that what you faced is not to one, not to be taken personally, right? Because again, this is something that a lot of us have faced, to really take it in stride, because when we take it personally, ultimately what that translates to is like going straight to the ego. Okay, going straight to the ego. And it's like, no, this is not something for the ego. Okay, and so it's important to note that when these constructs of constrictions, like when they come up and when we're faced to them, they're coming up as a means for us to bring awareness to them and to choose otherwise. Okay, so choosing that you are safe, choosing that you are capable, choosing that you will win, that you're a winner. Okay, and so it's important to know that when you're faced with these constructs of constriction, you're able to identify them. Like, oh my goodness, like I do not feel safe. Okay, but then you're like, you realize that you are the most powerful person that you know, and you're like, you know what, I am safe, and you affirm that to yourself. The next vital part of the process is to make actions embedded in those realities. So some of you may have been aware of like different manifestation techniques, right? And a big one is living as if you already are. Okay, this is applied to how we create and how we live our life, right? And so if you decide, okay, like say you faced massive amounts of poverty and a lot of it came from insecurity, not feeling like you were safe or that your needs were taken care of, then you decide, okay, I identify this construct of constriction where I'm feeling constricted and limited in my limitless soul. So you take that and you affirm to yourself that you are safe. What your reality needs is to act upon that. So what would you do? This is like one of my favorite quotes. It's like, what would you do if you knew that you were always taken care of? What would you do? And so that is a part of the process of liberating your limitless self, acting as if you already are, right? And not to say it's gonna come in waves. It's not going to be as linear as be like, okay. But if we're talking about liberating our limitless selves and how these constructs of constriction have been present, it's important for you to create your own foundation. And so that's doing, even if like emotionally or mentally, like you're not fully there, it's still showing up for yourself, right? Last video we talked about showing up for yourself. This is a further continuation of that. And then watch as you'll be amazed by that. Something else that's important to know in the process of liberating your limitless self is that you are not a victim. You are a creatrix. You are a creator, okay? So, as I mentioned before, we are the most powerful people that we know. And we also create our own reality, which, yes, means the messed up and challenging stuff too, okay? And so some of you may be like, what? Like, why would I create challenges for myself? It's embedded in those beliefs. It's embedded in those ideas that became your concrete reality, okay? So it's important to know that there's always a deeper meaning, a deeper source to where it's all coming from. And that you are the link to change in this process. So again, being like, okay, I have faced this, and I feel constricted here, and here. Let me take responsibility here. Let me take accountability for the fact that I am literally the most powerful person that I know, meaning I can cultivate and create massive amounts of change. And it is through that, through reclaiming our power, that it's done. We build trust within ourselves. We reconstruct those foundations based on liberation, based on the fact that we are so limitless. Sometimes we're really brought up or can be brought up in a reality that's so binary. It's either this or that. Ba ba ba. Limits, limitations, here and there, all this pressure. But that's not you. Up until this point, you may have believed that that was you, or may have been so unaware of that you were taking those beliefs on as you, which the powers that have been benefited from. And so when you're choosing not to be a victim, you're choosing to reclaim your power, and you're choosing your reality. Period, point blank. Okay. All right. And so, wow, I feel like this conversation went by so quick. Spirit is like, okay, channel, okay. And so I'm going to leave y'all off with a poem today. And so this poem is from my book, Growing Up Raceless in America, which I mentioned before. And so if you're interested in diving deeper about constructs of constriction, the book dives into more juicy detail about liberating yourself from constructs of constriction, regardless of the constriction that you are currently facing, okay? So as I mentioned before, it's really a story of transcending limitations through self-liberation as a means to liberate your limitless self. So if you want to make that investment to your soul, spiritual investment, my book will be linked down below. It's going to be in the first link, which will bring you to my link tree, which has all of the deets that you need to know. But this poem, I'm so excited to share this with y'all. This poem, again, poem from my book, Growing Up Raceless in America. It's one of 31 poems that I have in the book. And this one is entitled PAWER, or Power. How do I do it? I'm just amazed at all this grit that I put into it day in and day out. I'm grateful I can keep up without a doubt in my mind that I can't do things that'll sound like bells that rings in my brain, and I quiet them again. I surprise myself with what I do. I'm really a badass, and I gotta give credit, because it's true. The power I hold is something no one else can mold. It comes from every wound that's been healed, and it's something thieves wish they had stealed. My power is growing more and more each day. The more I believe this thought to stay, the more people can't help but say, she's got power. So you best get out the way. So there you go, my loves, my beautiful beloveds. That was Power, a poem from my poetry book, which you can get down below. And this has been our conscious conversation today, second video in the conscious conversation series. Whoop, 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 whoop. And if you feel the vibe, you love this, you want more of this, let me know how it resonates in the comments below. For one, please become a part of our conscious community built off of love and authenticity. That's the foundation of this conscious channel, okay? So if you want to become a part of the tribe, subscribe. And if you want to support me, your girl, check out my links below, see what calls to you, whether it's my book, sending your girl a donation, some coin, or just further exploring what I've created and wanting to share it. A little goes a long way. I love y'all so much. Thank you for participating in consciously choosing to be a part of our conscious conversation. I am Alana Parrott, and this has been our conscious conversation series on constructs of constriction. All right, loves, I love you so much. And remember to stand in your authentic light and shine bright, my loves. Until next time.